Great, so our 2 bedrooms right now, they have no view, no updated appliance, and neighbors are a little loud. Those are going for $3,900 right now, which is a steal. We do ask that you make 5 times the rent, so at $3,900, you need to at least make $20,000 a month in this economy, which is great. To rent our semi-luxury apartments with loud neighbors, roaches here and there, you will need a 760 credit score or higher. Higher is better. And we also have no security cameras in the garage, so if your car gets broken into, we don't care. We do also require an $8,000 security deposit that you may or may not get back. Leaning towards the may not. We do also require first and second month's rent to move in. For our lease terms, we do have a 36 and a 48. We do need to see your entire lease's rent inside your bank account to move in. So that'll be $3,900 times that 36-month lease. So we'll need to see $140,000 inside your bank account right now to move in. We'll also need the $8,000 security deposit on top of the first and second month's rent to move in. Did you want me to go in the back and get you an application?
Y'all take food stamps?
Shelter security in America is not looking good at all right now. And y'all, is it just me? But I feel like rent is a scam. Like, why do we have to pay for rent every 30 days? And can we be honest, 30 days pass by very fast. It literally feels like you pay rent, you blink, and then you gotta pay rent again. And I just feel like it's not giving. But on a serious note, the problem is that we have normalized this and we just go with the flow. Like, you have to think about it. People are literally working just to pay bills, and a lot of people are even struggling to do that. Everybody that I speak to, when I ask them, oh, what you been up to? Everyone is saying just working, just working. And it's like, there's so much more to life than just that. But that's a different conversation. Right now, we're talking about how rent is just out of control. So let's just get into that topic.
$2,000 a month, and my rent is $1,660.
Sadly, this is getting to be the story of pretty much everybody out there. I haven't rented since I was in my 20s, so I've been out of the housing market forever on this shit. But I tried to help my niece get a place about 6-8 months ago, something like that. And she was telling me everything she found was $1,900, $2,300, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, sweetheart, you just let me look for you. There's something out there, $500-600 a month that's decent. I'll find it. There's not. Like, how? I mean, why? Why did we get to this point? Why is just a decent place to sleep and cook and survive exist? Why is it $3,000, $4,000 a fucking month? I mean, it's ridiculous. Something's got to change. Otherwise, we're going to end up with half the country homeless.
How are we supposed to buy a house when my rent is going up another $195 a month? It has gone up $720 in 4 years for the same place that I live in. $8,640 a year more for the same place I lived in 4 years ago. I'm sorry, property taxes are not going up that much that landlords are charging that much more. We have to stop blaming the economy, the government, the president. It is greedy people taking more profits in. When people tell you, just move somewhere else, why would I move to another state that's cheaper? Why should I have to uproot my family, lose my career, just to afford to live somewhere? You're implying people who live in where I live now don't deserve a fair shot at cost of living. And places with cheaper rent pay lower salaries. That's how this whole thing works for the most part. And my girlfriend's a teacher. Like, if she moves to a state with a cheaper cost of living, she might not even have a pension or her benefits anymore. Instead of telling the middle class to keep, looking somewhere cheaper, why don't you all align together and get people out of control that are doing this to us? You are always closer to being homeless than you are to being rich. Like, everyone just assumes one day they're going to get rich. And that's why they don't stand up for people just like them in the struggle right now. If not for the raise I got 4 years ago, I would be totally screwed. I don't even want a handout or help. I just want things to not be so crazy expensive every year. Like, go buy pizza from where I work. Go buy my merchandise. I don't know. Not a handout, just advertise.
I'm doing Instacart, and I come up here to drop this groceries off to this lady. This building is disrespectful. Arrears by building and floor as of April 2023, 129 West 147th Street. So the first floor, The second floor, the third floor, the fifth floor, the sixth floor, the seventh floor, the eighth floor, the ninth floor, the 10th floor, the 11th floor, the 12th floor, the 13th floor, 15th, 16th, 17th floor, 18th, 19th, 20th floor, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th. All right, it's only 26 floors, so I skipped something. But in any case, the whole building in total owes $1,042,439.20. So the floor with the most arrears is here, floor 19. This is embarrassing. They're very disrespectful. The second floor that owes the most arrears, floor 14. The third floor, floor 13. Yo, this is crazy. They gonna start evicting people by whole floors. Anybody needs some place to live, give it maybe 6 months and you will all be able to move into this building right here. God bless these people in this building. I hope they can come up with the arrears. Look how much, that is crazy. Now my question is, granted they didn't put the apartment numbers up there, right? So it's not really grounds to sue. But the nerve of you to expose these people like that. COVID just came and went. Life is hard. You know, we're about to go into a recession. America can't pay off that debt, and they definitely looking for other ways to pay for that oil. You see all this cryptocurrency coming into play? Let's not get it twisted, all right? We soon be the bottom of the totem pole. So, with that being said, give these people a chance, please.
If you want cheap rent without getting a roommate, there's only 2 options available. So for your first option, if you want a cheap apartment, is you have to move to far, far away land. You have to move to a small ass town where everybody goes to Walmart for fun. There's nothing to do and you'll be bored as hell, but your rent will be $35 a month. Your second option, if you want cheap rent, is your roommate is probably going to be rats and roaches. Your car's going to get broken into. You're probably going to get shot. But at least your city is a lot of fun and there's a lot of things to do in your city. And this is why I think renting is such a very unfair concept. I have a friend who's paying $2,500 a month for a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in Miami, Florida. Then I have another friend who's paying $800 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in a small town in South Carolina. Both apartments are pretty much the same size. The only difference is location. I think it should be illegal for rent to be over $2,000 a month. You could be paying $2,000 a month for your apartment and your next door neighbor, same model, same everything, could be paying $1,800 for the same model apartment as you. Or they could be paying more than you. When you renew your lease, it could go up by $9 or $900. And then you're paying $2,000 a month, but you will never own your apartment. You will never own it. I feel like rent should be like a fixed amount across the board. A 1-bedroom apartment anywhere in the United States should be like $800. A 2-bedroom apartment should be like $900. Life is unfair, but renting is 10 times unfairer.
Who in charge of the rent prices? But I know you see them down here finessing the shit out of us. Cause ain't no way rent either $1,500 or $2,000 plus out here in Chicago. Anything under that $1,500, get used to gunshots every night. They increasing our rent every time we renew our lease. And ain't changing shit about the apartment. Apartment getting worse and worse by the year. There definitely need to be some requirements to this shit. Because they should not be renting apartments with appliances from 1985. How y'all out here trying to rent out apartments with pink tubs and stick and peel flooring? Talking about we need to make 3 times the rent. For what? Our parents was paying $400 or $500 for these ran down ass apartments and they was in way better shape. Got different flooring in every room. Shit tacky as hell. Yes, we been noticing y'all been painting over those electric plugs, light switches. We been stopped caring. We need somewhere to stay.
Honestly, in these times, to land you an apartment that's of good condition and that's a decent price, you are lucky to come across something like that. I live in New York City and I'm not gonna lie, I would not recommend it to anybody. So if you are considering moving here, all I'm gonna say is make sure you are making a good amount of money in order to support yourself, because the prices here are crazy. Renting these last few years have been ghetto for the most part, unless you've been living in your apartment for years at a time. But if you are a new renter, you will oftentimes find yourself having to choose between quality, size, and pricing. So if you want something affordable, you are likely to have to compromise on quality. Or if you want something of bigger size, then you will most likely have to opt for one of the older built model apartment buildings, but oftentimes they tend to be outdated and need renovation. But the problem is, depending on your landlord, they may not care to make those repairs, or they just have restrictions or a lack of financial means in order to make those repairs to give you a more modern, renovated, updated type of style apartment. And if you want something of quality and updated with modern finishes, and sometimes having amenities like a community room, a gym, and a laundry in your building, prepare to pay a pretty penny. And I'm talking about $2,000 plus, even for a studio apartment. And nowadays, for you to find something of that quality, you will oftentimes find yourself within the searches of things called luxury. And the problem is, a lot of the newly built projects are labeled as luxury, even when the apartments are the size of a box. The walls are paper thin, and you can hear things from your neighbors that you don't want to hear, whether it's their conversations. You can probably hear them flushing the toilet, and sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, you can even hear them doing things that you don't want to hear them doing, if you know what I'm talking about. Or a lot of times the newly built buildings are being rushed during the building process, so they're not properly insulated, and you can find yourself feeling like you're outside when you're inside your apartment. And y'all, I've even heard from people living in these luxury buildings how they be having little creatures running across their hallway floors. Listen, I would be damned if I'm paying luxury prices and I got little roaches and mice crawling around in my hallways. Like, that is not giving luxury. But that luxury label is the building's way of justifying them having a high price on the apartment.
We have got to stop using, actually, no. Y'all have got to stop using the word luxury so loosely when it comes to apartments. I'm in Houston. I was looking for a different apartment. I want a different floor plan. I ended up finding one, but I was looking at some of these luxury properties I be posting, and there's nothing luxury about it. It'd be a regular apartment. No parking garage, no elevators, no nice pools, no garden tub, no walk-in closet, walls thin, got roaches, cars getting broken into, reviews definitely not luxury. I'm like, where's the luxury in that? Are y'all calling it luxury because it has modern finishes? Like, almost every new apartment that's being built looks like that. Like, if it's a new build, they all look that on the inside. But if I gotta walk upstairs, it's not a luxury. A dumpster? If I'm walking to a dumpster, that's not a luxury. If I can get rained on, it is not luxury. No security guard, no courtesy officer, that is not a luxury. I can hear my neighbor cough, not a luxury. Y'all using that word too loosely. Luxury is an experience, not an aesthetic.
Well, get a luxury apartment this, get a luxury apartment that. Why the fuck the door just fell off? They just slapping luxury on anything just because y'all did some renovations that y'all ain't even do right. Cause how the screw come out the? They ain't even know which one they went in. How the door fell off? From getting told, paying the wrong light bill, the cabinet falling out. I'm not renewing this lease at all. At all.
Fuck a luxury apartment. Hire for my new apartment, by the way. Still moving in. I know I look crazy. We're gonna ignore that. But just want to say a couple things pertaining to my last video. Fuck a luxury apartment. Y'all can throw that word in front of the apartment all the fuck you want to. I'm not falling for it no more. What's luxurious about these apartments, y'all? The granite tops. Life gets a little bit more luxurious than granite tops. And really my whole point of my last video was, if you gonna advertise all these fucking amenities, just make them work. We paying a lot of money to live here. Like, can that go towards making sure these amenities work? Like, I'm out the dog parks, never cleaning up the shit for months on end. Parking garages getting advertised as an amenity, but you got the garage propped open that anybody can come in. People shit getting broken into, mine. People shit getting towed out of there, mine, for no reason. Gyms that are as big as our closets with this basic ass equipment. I could probably get a more intense workout at a fucking nursing home. Valet trash that's never getting picked up on schedule is being left out there for days, stinking up the fucking hallways. Everything looks so bright on the website, but why the lights so dim in this motherfucker? Like, why is it so dingy and dirty looking in this luxury apartment? Why? Okay? I know rent prices are not literally based on the amenities that these apartments offer, or not all of them at least. A lot of them are aligned with market price, but still though, a lot of these places are still going above market price. So it's just like, hey, hold on. If we're gonna pay this, make the shit work around this motherfucker. That's all I was saying. People was mad at me because I wanted the elevator to work. The elevator is not necessarily an amenity. It's actually required when you have a building above 3 floors to have a working elevator. The elevator don't fucking work for over a month. I'm gonna have an issue with that. Like, what's wrong with that? So yes, I'm gonna always do my part because I don't like inflation. I'm tired of inflation. I'm ready for some deflation around this motherfucker. If you not, because some of y'all was like, oh, I pay $1 million for my shoebox out here in New York. You sound happy about that? Cool. I'm not talking to y'all. I'm talking to the other people who is tired of inflation too. I'm always do my part. Yeah, I'm gonna make my fake little union. I'm gonna walk around the building. If I see my neighbors, I'm gonna say what's up. Like, like, if I hear some complaints, I'm gonna be like, you know, we can complain about that. Like, we can demand shit. We got a voice too. Like, our shit matter. Like, we can demand shit around this motherfucker. That's the only thing. That's the only way that shit gonna change. Hey, sorry that I just want elevators to work, and I want lower rent prices for me and my people. That's sorry.
In my case, 2 years ago, before the economy got really bad, I struggled to find an apartment because I was trying to find things of quality but also within my budget. And if I wasn't patient enough to trust God in the process, I would have found myself in an apartment that was overly priced that I wasn't satisfied with. But luckily, like a needle in a haystack, I was able to find a newly built building, and I was able to secure a 1-bedroom for under about $1,900. And that's not even including Con Ed and Wi-Fi. And remember, it's been 2 years. If I were to try to search for a 1-bedroom apartment now, I would be looking at paying a minimum of $2,200 for something that I wouldn't even be satisfied with. I remember even asking a landlord one time for a friend how much was an apartment. She told me $2,700 for a 1-bedroom apartment. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even bother responding to her message because it's like, where are these landlords making these prices up from? Like, it's not that serious.
Have landlords lost their minds? My roommate moved out a few months ago, so I currently live in a 2-bed, 2-bath by myself. And the price that I am paying for rent for a 2-bed, 2-bath with 2 parking spaces is the same amount of money I would be paying for a studio in Los Angeles, California. I feel like our whole perspective is warped because I hear people talking about, oh, I found a studio for $2,000, what a good deal. I just can't even process what is happening with rent costs in LA and also around the whole country. How is anybody affording rent? How?
I would have to disagree that $2,100 a month is damn cheap. And a lot of people have commented this, but it's just not true. So I'm going to explain why. The national average salary in the United States right now is $59,000, and $59,000 after taxes, your take home every month is about $3,800. So if you are a household or a single person living off of that one salary, that rent right there is more than half of what you're making. And that's just the average. So of course there's going to be people that are well below the average who cannot even afford a $2,100 rent that you guys are saying is cheap. Now, I'm not ungrateful at all. I'm blessed that we are able to afford this $2,100 of rent, which we got at this rate because we moved during COVID, during the height in 2020. We moved there in 2020 during the height of COVID, and they were having a really good deal because they were desperate to get people in. Now, unfortunately, that rent is about $3,000, but Why are we normalizing? Why are we normalizing $2,100 a month of rent as being cheap when the majority of people in the United States don't even make enough to afford this type of rent? So many people have roommates. So many people who are families and have multiple children are living in an apartment instead of living in a house, which is what we are saving for. We're never going to own this apartment. We're all just throwing our money away, renting instead of buying. We have no buying power right now as millennials and as Gen Zers. Why aren't we able to afford to buy things like the generations before us did? How come we're the ones that are screwed? I was born and raised in California. It's not going to be possible for me to buy a home here because the average price of houses here, and these are old houses, like 1950s houses, is about $700,000. I thought I made decent money. Last year was the most I ever made, right? I thought that we would be able to afford a house. We're not going to be able to afford a house that's almost $1 million. It's just not going to happen. So I understand people saying $2,100 is cheap. It's not cheap. It's cheaper than other places, but we are all of us are being overcharged for rent, and these houses are insanely expensive, and there's like no chance of most people ever even being able to afford to buy a house in their lifetime. That's sad.
Now, what I'm about to say may piss a lot of landlords off, but I don't really care at all. But I'm gonna read to y'all the qualifications that this person wants for this house, and it ain't an amazing ass house. We're not talking about anything super expensive. The rent, like I said, is $16.95, $40 application fee per adult. They want you to make 3.5 times the rent. Standard for whatever reason is 3 times the rent. When majority of Americans don't even make 3 times a $1,600 a month rent. I don't know where people just get up and be like, oh yeah, we're just gonna make this a national standard that people have to make 3 times the rent amount. Majority of people can afford 2 times the rent on a specific basic home like this, but this person is going even further. They don't want you to have 3 times the rent. They want you to have 3.5 times the rent. They want the last 2 years of your W-2s, the last 3 months of your check stub, driver's license or ID, social security card. They want you to make 2 months worth of rent as your security deposit before you even move in, and you have to have a credit score of at least a 670. I'm trying to tell you off the bat, that disqualifies so many people from being able to be in a home that is decent. Let's add that up, why don't we? Off the rip, you have to pay first month's rent, $16.95. You have to pay $40 application fee per adult, and let's just say the standard adult is 2 adults, right? You have to pay, if you have a pet, which majority of people in Houston do have pets, dogs, it's a $250 non-refundable fee per pet. So let's just say you have a pet. We're going to add that up. And then you have to make 2 months of the rent to equal the amount of the security deposit. So that's $16.95 times 2. All right. And on top of that, we're not even talking about your utilities and all the things that you have set up. They want you to have rental insurance before you move in. Standard rental insurance is probably about $25 a month. Let's just say that. Before you can even move into this house, sitting in a savings account somewhere or just idle money, you already got to come off of this amount of money. I don't know at what point we stop being human, though. Even as an investor and a landlord, at what point did we stop being human and we say money trumps everything, including people? I don't get it.
And just to put things into perspective of how dramatic the prices have increased over the years, my parents live in the same apartment that they've lived in for 30 years, and it is a spacious 2-bedroom apartment, and I believe they're paying about like $1,300, and that's the price that has increased over the years. Mind you, a few years ago they tried to buy them out of the apartment, and I told my parents, y'all better hold on to that apartment because they could easily turn that into a 3-bedroom and triple the price of what they're charging charging them now to the new tenants. I'm like, listen, y'all better hold on to that. Rent has gotten so high that it honestly just doesn't even make sense at this point. Like, do you guys want to house people, or is money the only thing that people are concerned about? And I get it, like, people are trying to keep up within this economy, but it's like, at what point do you put a cap on it and say like, okay, this is how much it should be and it shouldn't go above that? Because it's people's livelihoods that we're talking about. Like, we're talking about shelter for people. Like, is that not more important than money? And it's so sad because it's like there are people who are working minimum wage jobs and people who are trying to support their families who can't even afford these things because of how expensive things are. And the crazy part is, even if you are able to secure an apartment, you are literally spending your whole entire check on that apartment, leaving you with such a small budget in order for you to meet your other necessities.
The absolute downside to living in a luxury apartment is that I have this beautiful fridge and I'm so busy paying for it that I can't seem to fill it with groceries. Let's do a little tour. So I have cat food here, strawberry, kombucha, yogurt. Where's my broccoli? This is my broccoli. I took it out. It's my dinner. I've already used up my weekly allowance and it's Tuesday.
Does anyone else feel like they're absolutely fucking drowning financially?
I'm glad you asked. And it's not dark just because it's nighttime. Oh no. It's dark because I have no electricity in my crib right now. And no, I'm not joking. I am not joking at all. So I definitely feel the struggle, you know. Not joking. See that? It's 59 degrees up in this motherfucker. Oh, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. But I've already done the crying, so I'm at a point of laughing. I make $27 an hour. I make too much to qualify for any rental assistance, electricity assistance. And I never get sick. I think I'm just getting sick because the stress is causing my immune system to deplete. But it's alright. I'm a grown-ass man. I'll get it taken care of. Don't worry.
I quite literally have $7.41 in my checking account right now, and all I know is that God is faithful. I'm not worried about all the other stuff. You know why I have $7? It's because all my bills are paid. He provided a way for my bills to be paid, and now I got 2 legs at work and I'm going to the gym. All for his glory, period.
To be able to afford the prices in today's economy, you have to have a really good paying job, or you have to have multiple streams of income. And depending on what those streams of income are, a lot of people are experiencing burnout within society. And if you're like the average American, then you are oftentimes going to be finding yourself in debt. You're gonna have multiple bills and responsibilities. Some people have car payments, or even experiencing job insecurities because people are getting let go left and right, even despite them having a degree, because of all these new technological advances and AI and how companies are trying to save money and cut back on costs. So that's been something that's been affecting a lot of people, especially people who thought that because they got a certain degree, they felt like, okay, I'm going to be secure in my career. And that's not even the case nowadays. And prices have been so high that some people can only afford to rent a room or even split an apartment with several people, sometimes even with strangers. And if you ask me, I think that's dangerous, and it can be really uncomfortable for people because you're sharing a roof with people that
so bad that companies are downsizing and cutting staff and making one person do the job of 3 and 4 people. Companies are pinching pennies, they're lowering wages, they're not giving raises or bonuses. The cost of everything has gone up exponentially. Trying to get an education to get out of your field to get into another field to make money isn't working either, because the cost of education has gone up several 100%. This sentiment does not work when there are people who have been in their jobs for years, who have degrees, who have work experience, who have been with a business for like 10, 15 years. They're being let go, and then they can't get a job for more than like $17 an hour, $20 an hour max, which is not a livable wage right now. So yes, you absolutely need to do your research.
And being that I started a business at a young age, I had the privilege of moving out by 21. But I always tell my peers, do not feel pressured because you reached a certain age. You feel like, oh, you want to move out, or you feel like you're behind in life, because that is not the case, especially when you're considering just the circumstances and all the different factors that we are currently facing in today's time. Back in the day, your parents could have been able to buy their first house by 21. We are not in that day and age now. Things are different. The economy is different. They could have spent $20,000 on a nice house. Nowadays, you damn near gotta have $1 million to get a house. And I just think it's absolutely insane. And I just think it's really important for people of all ages to really acknowledge that you shouldn't be putting pressure on yourself to meet unrealistic expectations. I feel like we are trying to justify different reasons of why we are not pulling the weight that we need to pull, when it's just like, no, the state of the world is just not good, and it's literally pushing the bar higher and higher. And of course, like, we can aim to do better, but it's just like, at what point do you draw the line? You get what I'm saying?
Every time I think about or trying to move out my parents' house, the cost of living just get higher and higher. Like, insurance goes up, gas goes up, not to mention the fact that you got to make 3 times the rent of wherever you live at, which is kind of insane, because the average person my age ain't even making what I'm making. Not to mention the fact that I check my pay stubs all the time. I'm not making as nearly as what I would make if they ain't take all them fucking taxes out of my checks every 2 weeks. Like, and I just been sitting here thinking, like, cause with me personally, when I moved out, I always wanted to move out by myself or with a significant other. And now I'm starting to realize when people move out, they get roommates, or they move in college apartments with other people that they don't even fucking know of, because the cost of living is too fucking high. How can I get a house these days? How can I get a house, bro? The average house is like 300 bands, you know what I'm saying? And like the average like monthly cost of it is like $2,500 a month. Like, that's crazy. Like, and me personally, I never agreed with having to have more than one source of income. In my opinion, you having more than one source of income should be a choice. It shouldn't be, I shouldn't need 2 sources of income to fucking survive. I'm 23, bruh. God damn. I am fucking 23. And I'm already like having a midlife crisis for real. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to move out my parents' crib, but I ain't trying to live check to fucking check. Like, I'm sitting here making more money than I ever made ever in my life in a year span. And it's still not enough for me to fucking move out and be able to fucking sustain a living. Like, we're doomed, bro. And they wait until we get grown to do shit like this. Like, yeah, it's over with, bro. It's over with.
Between the ages of 22 and 28, I would always have this feeling that people who stayed with their parents for too long, it was kind of like a bad look. You see what I'm saying? Like, it was kind of like one of those things where it's like, you're kind of too old to be doing that. Shouldn't you like venture out on your own and shit like that? Shouldn't you try to like be your own person? I no longer feel like that, because things are incredibly expensive right now, to the point to where it's almost laughable. I got my first apartment by myself when I was 23 years old. Rent was $595. A little bit of tax and shit, it went up to a little over $600. I live in Charleston, South Carolina. By the time I moved to Columbia, South Carolina, which was 4 years later, my rent was $700. So I transitioned from $700 in Charleston to $700 in Columbia. Everything was good. Stayed in Columbia for about 2 years and then moved back to Charleston. My rent now is $1,400 for this small ass apartment, right? You can't really see it because I got the lights off, but this small ass apartment, like right there, that little, wait, let me see, that little break right there, there's a bedroom on this side of the wall and there's a bathroom on the other side of the wall. That's it. $1,400. I no longer feel the way I felt about people not wanting to move out of their parents' house. Now, granted, I still would have to figure it out because I like my own independence. I like being able to come and go as I please. I don't like waiting on people. So I would have figured out, a way to do it on my own. However, when I see people who still live with their parents and they're, in their mid-20s, creeping up to the late 20s, I'd just be like, hey, they got a dynamic working out with their peoples. If they like it, I love it. You know what I'm saying? Their people's cool with it. I ain't got nothing to say because shit is hard out here. I'm literally patting myself on the back because I switched car insurance companies and I saved $400 a month. I saved $350 a month by switching to Guy. No, I'm just kidding. Geico sucks ass. And I look at that like, wow, that's a good thing because my rent is always going up. Car insurance always going up. Cost of everything. Like eventually we're going to have to start riding, right? Eventually we're going to have to start doing something to get the attention that this shit cannot continue to happen. Because it seems like everybody in the world is profiting off the services that the American people offer, except the American people. Huh? You get taxed on the money you get taxed when you buy shit with it, you get taxed when you drive to work, you get taxed when you work, you get taxed when you drive home, you get taxed on the food you eat, you get taxed on thinking about taxes because taxes is something you shouldn't be thinking about because you should just pay your taxes like a fucking law-abiding American and shut the fuck up about taxes. Fuck all that. Eventually, very soon, we're going to have to do something about this shit. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but I'm telling you now, eventually something is going to have to give because there is no way that this can continue to be a thing and people are just going to accept this for what it is. This shit is not going to work very long.
You not being able to comfortably financially support yourself should not be something that you beat yourself up about, especially in today's time. If you have a decent, unproblematic relationship with your household members, do not force yourself to rush and leave the house. In my opinion, if you're in that situation, your main goal should be to stack up your bread and to invest your money so that you can make more money. And then when you feel like you have consistently been able to make a certain amount of money and you feel comfortable, then move out, but don't rush. And back to what I was saying before, it's really important for people to acknowledge that you can be in a secure position and then things can change. There are a lot of people who are experiencing a lot of job insecurities because of how things are going. People are being let go unexpectedly. People are losing their jobs because of company layoffs. And it's just like, imagine if you took on a mortgage or you have car payments and the job market is bad. How do you really handle a situation like that if you are the only person supporting yourself and you don't have people to lean back on? That can really be burdensome for anyone. And all I'm gonna say is AI needs to count its days because it came and yeah, it could have been a benefit in some ways, but it is really turning the world around in ways that I just can't even imagine how it's gonna go. I mean, we've seen all the little robot movies, but just from the perspective of it's taking over people's jobs, which is compromising people's livelihood, I feel like it's a really big problem. And of course, companies aren't going to care about that because at the end of the day, they just wanna cut their costs when it comes to how much they're putting out because they want maximum return. Honestly, it's just crazy.
I'm just like a little confused because why put the listing on if you don't have like the budget for the role? Because I like uprooted my life to move over here and now my job is getting eliminated after 3 months.
Gabrielle, I can understand that would be a difficult thing to process. These decisions are taken at the time of your hiring. That was not part of the strategy, but this has been more recent. If you read in the trades today that this is happening company-wide, it's part of the company's
broader strategy and not the station level.
Okay. I just want to know too, like, was at the time I was there, I just hope my performance and skill set, showed off and that I did a good job while I was in the role. Is there any feedback on that?
This decision isn't in any way based upon your performance. This is just part of the overall company's broader strategy.
Okay.
Unfortunately, this has resulted in your role being impacted, and as of today, you will be relieved of your job responsibilities. Please know that this was a difficult decision, and we thought a lot about how our teams need to be reorganized, reimagined to best support our strategy and the business as a whole. I know this news is hard to hear and that you may have questions, but I want to thank you for your contributions to the team. Regarding the details of your exit.
Okay.
So I'm about to call my mortgage lender and tell them that I've been laid off and I'm unemployed and I need some type of financial assistance. So let's see what they say and how this conversation goes, because I've never had to make a call like this before.
Thank you for calling your mortgage servicing center. Thank you for calling your customer care center. How may I help you today?
Yeah, I was recently laid off from my job and I wanted to, I guess, discuss like any type of financial assistance that's offered.
Looks like your account is current and due for March 1st. Account, again, like I stated, is current. So you would need to, if you're unable to make your, I think you already paid for March, February. So yeah, so when you're unable to pay like for the next month and you go delinquent for 30 days, then at that time, they would be able to offer some type of assistance, and I can get you over to loss mitigation or collections, and they would help assist with that. But being that your account is current, there are no options for early prevention, unfortunately.
So it would be like 1 month late on payments before any options would be available.
Yeah, once you're not able to make a 30-day payment within that month, we have to get you over to those departments anyway. So, yeah.
Okay.
And they will be able to tell you what options you will have.
Okay. So that's not what I was, I didn't know I have to be delinquent or like not be able to pay for a month. I guess that makes sense. That was not the response that I was hoping for. I don't know. Like, I don't know what happens if I'm delinquent on a payment. So basically they were saying like if I don't pay for a month, then I would have some type of financial assistance, or they could tell me what options I would have. But I don't know how not paying for a month would affect the rest of my financial life. Like my credit score, I guess that's what I'm talking about. Like, would that not hurt my credit score? Which at this point, I don't know if that should be that big of a concern. But a late payment, I think, is like a really big deal to your credit score. And that's like one of the worst things you can do to like really drop your credit and it stay dropped, because I think a late payment stays on your credit score for a while.
And you couldn't have even prepared for that. We're always told, get a degree so you can secure a high-paying job. But in this economy, so much is unpredictable. And with my understanding from a business perspective, I understand landlords wanting to make a profit and wanting to make a living for themselves. But I think the problem is where excessive greed comes into play. Like, where do you draw the line between, okay, I'm going to be renting things out and I'm going to add a little bit more so that I can make my money and also be able to take care of myself, because that's what a job is, right? You want to be able to secure yourself and your family. And I even came across an article maybe like 2 years ago where they were talking about how there's this kind of like rigged system that landlords go about. So say like if they have 20 apartments available for $1,000, they'll only make 10 of those listings available and hike the price up to, let's say, $1,500, because that way the supply is low but the demand will be higher. So you're gonna pay that price. And I feel like it's also them trying to compete with the current market. So it's just a whole lot of like hoopla going on, if I'm being completely honest, and somebody need to come in and check it. But the main question that a lot of people have is, what do you do when even the standard apartments are overpriced? People are opting to move to more affordable parts of the city, but the common problematic theme that I've been noticing is gentrification happening. So let's say, for example, if rent in Brooklyn is $4,000 and rent in the Bronx is $1,000, because people in Brooklyn are feeling those prices, they are now going to try to find something more affordable and say, okay, well, the Bronx is $1,000, let me go there, so I'm cutting back $3,000 of rent. But now the problem is the prices in the Bronx will slowly start to creep up, and it'll get to a point where the people who are native to the Bronx are now no longer going to be able to afford the rent in the Bronx. So unfortunately, it'll get to a place where the Bronx natives will no longer be able to afford the Bronx, and they'll be forced to have to relocate.
Besides the fact that I'm extremely struggling to pay my rent every month, you know how I realized that it's really, really bad out here? I live in the hood, okay? I live in the hood. The hood. Garbage everywhere. People's dogs not tied up. Pit bulls running around. Litter, dog poop. People riding bikes. Women of the night down the block. Like, I've been living here for a year and a half. And when I first moved in, it was 100% black. Like, 100% black people. And now, I was just walking my dog and this white guy was like, to me, dead ass. Now, all of a sudden, I've seen at least 4 of the apartments taken by white people. And this is like the cheapest spot in town. Also, some Hispanics have moved in as well. Like, when I first moved in here, there was a white girl that lived here. But I feel like when I realized everything changed, when I seen white men moving in here, I was like, oh shit, it's bad out there. It's bad. And I'm actually scared, guys, for my lease being up in January. I'm very scared. I'm very scared for what's gonna happen. That being said, please help me get to 10K. Oh my God, I gotta get out the hood. Please, please, please. I'm not gonna be able to afford the hood. They've already raised my rent. They tried to raise it $125. I talked them down to $75. They're probably definitely gonna raise it again at that. And this is for the hood. No supermarkets, no restaurants, nothing. Like, I don't know, we're just sitting on here on social media talking about it, but it's like, what do we actually do? What are we actually doing? The election is in November and they haven't even talked about the election. They're not even like trying to get people to, oh, come out and vote and be on our side, because I feel like they know what it is. They're gonna wait till the last minute to be like, all right, well, you have to pick somebody. You gotta vote for Biden, you know, since you don't want Trump. Like, no, we can't do that. We cannot do that. I know it's a little bit all over the place, this video, but it's bad out here, dude. Rent is really bad. And yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm very scared. I don't wanna live in my car. Not with 2 dogs.
Or some people are resorting to relocating to the outskirts of the city, and some people are even bouncing from out of the city, to be honest, because it's so expensive, especially if you're in one of the major popular cities like New York. For example, I don't want to be in New York City because of how pricey it is. I feel like what you're paying here for an apartment, you can literally go to another state and you can get you a nice house and have everything there and be paying equal pricing to here in New York, and it's not as crowded. You're getting way better quality, so that's an option. But of course, you know, a lot of people say that when they do move to different states, depending on your job, you're gonna be getting paid less, and I just feel like it all depends on what you do for work. Then in some situations, there are people applying to housing programs, and honestly, from what I heard, that can either be a hit or miss. So I know there's a thing called Housing Connect, and I've heard of people applying for years and never getting a call back. And I've even heard of people applying, say like for months, and they've gotten a call back from numerous places. So it's kind of like a luck thing, I feel like. I don't really know how that program works, but that's something to consider. And there are even some people that are taking the shelter route so that they can be placed into really affordable apartments. And y'all, I've even heard of stories where people are being placed into 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom townhomes for $50. And I'm like, well, damn. But I feel like it's also fair to acknowledge the process that they've had to go through in order for them to even get placed into that. So, you know, it's really important for you to be realistic about what you're going to have to go through in order to be placed into these type of scenarios and situations. And I'm sure there are many other methods and resources that people are utilizing in order to be placed into better situations when it comes to their housing stuff. And I don't know, y'all, the man that y'all call president, he's out here making all these changes, but he's not making changes that are necessary and beneficial to society and just relieving stress off of people. The man is out here making all these changes, and it's like, are you like oblivious to what's going on? Even though they're not, but it's just like, why are you not changing things that people are literally suffering through? And honestly, it comes down to me always saying, I feel like this government wants to keep people at a low frequency, and they don't want people to be stress-free and happy. They thrive off of people being stressed out, and they're going to do everything that they can do in order to make sure that people are feeling anxious, depressed, stressed out, not knowing what's to come. And I think it's really important that people acknowledge that, and, you know, really just stay strong through everything that you're going through, and really just maintaining your faith and trusting that God is going to put you in better situations. Whatever you're going through, just keep pushing through and show up every day, and just pray that things are going to turn around and just get better, honestly, because at this point, like, life is unpredictable for a lot of people, and all we can really do is take it one day at a time and just pray for the best and hope for the best. So yeah, if you have any tips on finessing this system, just kidding, kind of. If you have any tips that you would share to anyone and you feel like it'll be valuable, you know, any resources that you feel like people can utilize, please comment them below, and I'm sure it'll help someone out if they happen to stumble across it. But if you have made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you in another one.